Hello everyone, I'm Dan Philgreen, and this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, January 13th. On today's show, Anna Smith is here from FineMark Bank to share some information about avoiding Social Security fraud. And Brian Oxley will give a preview of his academy class called The Hound of Heaven. But first, we want to remind you that tomorrow we have Chris Pendleton, President and CEO of the Edison and Ford Winter Estates, coming to talk about the amazing history of these two properties. She will speak at 2:15 in the Social Center on the island. Friday night, we have the legendary Tommy Dorsey Orchestra playing at the Village Church at 7:30 p.m. While the faces have changed over the years, the songs remain the same, and the band still represents explosive and swinging big band entertainment at its very best. Tickets are available for $35, or you can still purchase tickets to 3 concerts for $90. Stop by either service desk or call 454-2067 for more information. The full concert lineup can be found online at www.shellpoint.org/concerts. And this Saturday, an outing to the Everblades hockey game is coming up when the hometown boys take on the Gwinnett Gladiators from Duluth, Georgia. The cost is $28 with snacks at the arena on your own. Please note that stairs and arena navigation are involved with this outing. And now, Anna Smith is here from FineMark Bank with some important information to be aware of concerning Social Security fraud.
Hello, I'm Anna Smith, Managing Executive at FineMark National Bank and Trust on the island. Today we are discussing Social Security and medical fraud. The Social Security Administration reports the latest scam they are seeing involves thieves trying to open Social Security accounts on the official website. But the criminals are using the names and information of unsuspecting Americans. If they open the account, your direct deposit from Social Security can actually be controlled by the thieves. The best way to protect yourself is to make sure you go to the Social Security website and open the account yourself. This eliminates the risk of a new account being opened by an identity thief. And if you haven't opened an account, but you receive a notice saying you have, call authorities immediately. Someone else may have opened an account in your name. Now on to another type of scam, medical identity theft. This happens when someone steals your name and Medicare number to get treatment, prescription drugs, or other services, and then bills Medicare for it. Medical identity theft can be very dangerous. If a thief uses your identity to get care, your medical record could then reflect false information about you. This means you could be getting the wrong treatment. Here are signs you've become a victim of medical fraud. If your insurance company says you've reached your limit on medical benefits, you get a bill for medical services you didn't receive, or you're contacted by a debt collection company for money you don't owe. Protecting your Medicare is just as important as protecting a credit card. Just like your financial information, shred medical papers before putting them in the trash. If you have any questions, you can stop by FineMark on the island or give us a call at 461-5999. We will do all we can to help. With today's FineMark Minute, I'm Anna Smith.
The 19th century poem, The Hound of Heaven, was considered by J.R.R. Tolkien to be perhaps the best poem ever written. Brian Oxley is here with Terry Kolath to talk about his class dealing with this important work of literature.
Hi everyone, I'm Terry Kolath. I'm here today with a special guest, a presenter in the Academy of Lifelong Learning. His name is Brian Oxley of Periwinkle and other places. Thank you for joining me, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Pastor Andy gave me a call and said, we have a great opportunity to look at the Hound of Heaven in the Academy. And I said, well, tell me more. And he told me about this man, Brian Oxley, who had made films about the poem, The Hound of Heaven. And I wanted you to spend a few minutes telling our Shell Point residents what we have.
I'd love to. It's a great poem. In fact, Tolkien who wrote The Lord of the Rings, and G.K. Chesterton, both say it could be the greatest poem ever written. It's from the 19th century, and I'll just kind of read a line from the poem that I think is so beautiful.
Okay.
I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. And it's an autobiographical poem by a man named Francis Thompson. And he's basically talking about his life. And he was running from God. And no matter what he did, he couldn't shake him. And he used the hound from heaven, of course being God, but the Irish hound is relentless in his pursuit. You can't, if it chased the rabbit, you know,
The rabbit won't win.
it won't win, yeah. So he picked the Irish hound as an image of God that will just pursue you, the great pursuer, because of his love for you. So it's not so much a story about the church, it's really about the one-on-one God loving you, the individual, and pursuing you. So that's the essence of the poem.
Why don't we know more about this poem, Brian?
Well, it's really, I've been asking that question because it's such a great poem, but it is from the 19th century, during the Victorian era. And, you know, England is not as interested in Christian, its Christian heritage. I think that's part of the problem. In fact, when we were filming The Hound of Heaven in England, we went to his gravesite of Francis Thompson, and it was unkept. It looked like nobody been there in 100 years. Amazing. So, you know, just because he wrote a great poem, if not the greatest poem, doesn't mean that people haven't forgotten, and they have. And that's really been my vision for this poem, is to resurrect it and bring it, you know, to the modern audience.
How did it start? How did you come upon this poem?
Well, as many things in my family, it started with my wife, and I have an interest in what they call emblem books, very common books in the 17th century, and they're basically picture books. And my wife found this book right here called it's The Hound of Heaven, and the illustrations in this book were so wonderful that I said, that's the artist that I would like help me with my emblem books. Ah. So actually, as a result of this book, Hound of Heaven, I ended up hiring this artist. He still works for me full time and does illustrations for me. But so this is the book that started me on a very interesting journey. And then, of course, I read the poem and fell in love with it.
It's amazing. And the English of the time was very different than what we understand. So what you've done is present it to us in a way that's more understandable.
Well, there's 3 versions, believe it or not. I tend to go all the way. One is, which we'll be showing, is basically it's a documentary about the whole poem. In the documentary, we hired David Touché from Agatha Christie, one of the most credible voices, to narrate the poem. So it is beautiful. It doesn't mean you totally understand it, but when you hear the documentary, you'll get the whole backdrop, and it may want you to dig into the poem and spend time with it. Right. I'm also going to show a modern adaptation of the poem. I think it's very good, but you know, you take a big risk when you take a great classic and you try to dumb it down, so to speak, for our generation. But we have attempted to do that, and it's really geared for young people. But I would sure love people at Shell Point who may have, you know, kids, who do have kids and grandkids, maybe to to see if it may be something, if they liked it, they may want their kids or their grandkids to see. So, and then there's actually a third, which will not be shown at this particular time, but it's an incredible situation that's occurred. It's a live action version of the Hound of Heaven. And it was presented at the film festival in London called Rain Dance, which is the largest film festival in Europe, and a film festival that rarely would allow a Christian film into it. And we were selected. And in fact, the Hollywood Reporter actually wrote an article that we have been accepted. It's not out in the open because now we're pursuing other film festivals. But just to show you kind of the risks we took, is the narrator of that live action is a rapper, and so we took some liberties, let's say, but it's the original poem. So we actually have three, but we're going to show the documentary, and we're going to show the modern adaptation. The modern adaptation is maybe 12 minutes. The documentary is maybe 25 minutes.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a little Brian Oxley in between.
Yeah, anybody have, questions? Sure. But let me just share something about this. Francis Thompson. His parents were very successful. His father was a doctor, and they wanted him to be either a priest, because he was Catholic, Francis Thompson, or become a doctor. Well, he wanted to be a poet. And back then, it was like nobody believed poetry could be a legitimate profession. And but he went to London. He was destitute. I'll just read this little line. When he submitted some of his poetry to a publisher, part of his note was, "The next day I spent the halfpenny on 2 boxes of matches, and again began the struggle for life." So here he was, struggling in the streets of London, got into all sorts of problems, especially he started taking laudanum, which is like opium, in the liquid form. And of course that was a problem back then because they didn't really know about its addicting problems. And anyway, so that's part of the story is, he almost dies, and in the midst of his trouble, at the lowest point in his life, he writes this poem, The Hound of Heaven. And so if you learn his story, which a documentary will share, all of a sudden you first, to some degree, you identify with him because, we've all had our low moments. Sure. And to see something so beautiful, so incredible come out of, his mind at that point is the poem, and that's what I want to share with people.
Fabulous. Well, we are so delighted you're bringing us this gift.
Yes.
And I encourage everyone to join us. We're going to be in the Village Church Auditorium. No registration necessary, room for everybody. And we're going to start at 10:15, and we have Brian Oxley for an hour and a half, his films and his experience. Please join us.
And now let's take a look at today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Welcome to the happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chandley, and I'm here with Caitlin Van Scoy, and we're going to tell you what's going on here at Shell Point today. We're going to start with an early health connections class today. 7:15 is the time for Bend, Breathe, and Balance. That's down in the health club on the island. Pickleball will be played at the pickleball court at 8 o'clock. Then also at 8 o'clock, we have the round robin doubles tennis at the Woodlands tennis courts. The stamp volunteers will be meeting at the stamp room in the tunnel at 8:15. 8:30 is the time for bocce. That's down at the Woodlands bocce courts. We also have an 8:30 Ladies Golf Association gathering down at the Shell Point Golf Club. Open painting will be in the art studio in the tunnel at 9:15. 9:30, we have match play doubles tennis at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. Our Susie Q boat goes out to Woody's Waterfront Restaurant at 10 o'clock. Sign up is required. And 10:15, we have Through the Bible Study Group. They gather in the Osprey Room on the island. At 11:45, we have a Health Connections class, Living Healthy. They'll be in the Osprey Room on the island. Continuing with the afternoon activities, here is Caitlin.
Thanks, Bev. At 12:30, we have Mixed Progressive Bridge in the game room at the Woodlands. And at 1:15, a Health Connections class, Complexion Perfection, in the Social Center on the island, and you do need to sign up for that. The knitters will be meeting at 1:15 in the Osprey Room on the island. And also at 1:15, shuffleboard will be played on the shuffleboard courts of the island. And the Rolla King Recorderist will be meeting at 1:15 down in the Tarpon Room of the Island Tunnel. And also at 1:15, the Women's Ministries Prayer Group will be meeting in the Hospitality Room of the Village Church. At 1:30, we have a Health Connections class, Aqua Pilates Stretch, in the LifeQuest Aquatic Center. At 1:30, if you'd like to volunteer with the Stamp Ministry, come down to the Stable Room of the Woodlands. And at 2:45, another Health Connections class, Balance and Mobility Training Level 2 in the Health Club, and that's currently closed. At 3:15, the Celebration Ringers Rehearsal will be in the choir room of the Village Church. At 4:15, we have a Health Connections class, Tai Chi Cha, in the Health Club on the island, and that's currently closed. At 7:30, we have a special performance by the Southwest Florida Symphony in the Village Church. It's called Simply Classics. A ticket is required for that one. Well, that's it for the happening segment of Shell Point TV. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Tuesday. At 10 o'clock, Session 2 of Legendary Places will take place in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. You can sign up right at the class. At 10:15, iPad, Why Do I Need One? Will it replace my PC? Will begin in the Manatee Room of the island. Please sign up at either service desk. And at 1 o'clock, Traveling with the iPad will take place in the Oak Room of the Woodlands. Please sign up at either service desk. At 1:15, those who have signed up for math and art, music, and nature will meet in the Manatee Room on the island. And at 4:30, all who have registered with the Village Church for their Alpha course will meet in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. We have a new class coming tomorrow, The Hound of Heaven, with Brian Oxley of Periwinkle. This will be in the Village Church. All are welcome.
Menus for Tuesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is braised beef with twice baked potato and fresh vegetables. The dinner special is Build Your Own Stir Fry for $13.95, and the soup of the day is navy bean. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Tuesday, the special is an Alpine chicken sandwich with side salad for $7.25. The dinner special is your choice of a hamburger or hot dog with potato salad, melon, and ice cream for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are linguine and clams for $15.95 or grilled mahi-mahi for $15.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
It's a privilege to welcome you today to Village Church Connections. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with our international worker in residence, Janice Quinlan. And Janice, thank you for being with me today. We are here to talk about one of the highlights of our year at the Village Church, and that is our Global Impact Week, which will soon be upon us.
Yes.
It begins Sunday, January the 18th, and it will run through the following Sunday, January the 25th. And Global Impact Week is an opportunity for us as a community to find out a little bit more about what's going on around the world, how we can engage with that, partner with the various ministries and work. And so it's just an exciting, very full week for us. We belong to the Christian Missionary Alliance denomination as a community. And one of the heartbeats of the Christian Missionary Alliance is global focus. We care about the world and the needs around us. And while we tend to view things from our side of the fence, I'm thrilled to have you here today because you've been able to experience things from both sides. Tell us a little bit what Global Impact Week means to an international worker.
Well, relationships are so important, and to be a week or at least 4 days in a church and to be able to put names. Sometimes people have written, but you've never gotten to meet them personally. And to make connections with people. We may feel like we're a small missionary denomination, but actually you can feel very disconnected with people when you've lived for 10, 20, 30 years overseas. And so the opportunity to come back again and to be in local churches and to make friendships that will carry you through as you go back, and then to come at another time and be reminded that they have prayed for you or followed you in your ministry is a great, great joy.
So it's just a great opportunity to connect.
Yes.
With people and know that you've got foundational prayer support behind you as you go back, in your case, to Thailand.
Yes.
This year we will have guests from several different places. You'll be part of the week, which I'm thrilled with.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we will have an international worker from Indonesia and another international worker from West Africa. And so we'll be exposed to some very different ministries and some things going on in very unique parts of the world. I'm also thrilled that the week will begin with our president, Dr. John Stumbo.
Yeah, that's such a great privilege for us.
We're really looking forward to having him with us. One of the things we also talk about during the course of the week is Great Commission Fund, because our international workers are supported by the Great Commission Fund. Tell us a little bit from your perspective what the difference is between a faith mission and a fund mission like what we have here at the Christian Missionary Alliance.
Okay, most of the missionaries that I interact with in Thailand are involved in faith missions, which means they come from many denominations, sometimes from many countries, and they apply to a mission, and the mission accepts them, and then it's their responsibility to raise funds, which in some cases can take years to get a support base. When they get to the field, they also have this tremendous responsibility and burden to constantly keep those people up to date in what's happening, to thank them regularly, which can take a significant amount of time away that could be for ministry, but needs to be for this administrative aspect. We being part of a denomination that has a central fund means that all of us contribute to one fund and everyone is supported. We still have the privilege and responsibility to stay connected, but we don't have that burden that if it's a very busy month in ministry and we haven't been able to, that maybe our support will fall away. So I'm very thankful that I've had 30 years of being in a denomination that cares for all their missionaries.
It really has been kind of a cornerstone for what we do around the world. And I know from my own personal experience interacting with other international workers that you are right. Sometimes half of their time can be spent just trying to maintain their funding. And in your case, you're able to devote your time to ministry, and that's so critical. So during the course of the week, we will have an opportunity to come before the Lord, learn about what's going on around the world, open our hearts to what God is saying to us, how we can engage with what's going on around the world, perhaps partner, either through prayer or through giving, and just really be a part of what God is doing. So we look forward to the week. There'll be a number of events throughout the course of the week, and we'll be talking about the schedule in more detail coming up very soon. But I thank you for being with me as we just talk about what Global Impact Week is all about.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
It will be. Yeah. Thank you, Janice, and thank you for joining us today. Have a great day.
We're glad you've joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow when Robin Church will bring us an update from the Shell Point Salon. And we'll hear about the Neuropathy Support Group. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, January 13th. I'm Dan Philgreen, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.